What's going on? Vital Potato here, the commentator. This is some gameplay from Aftermath, and this is Talam Market, which is one of the new maps that came out in the expansion pack. And it seems like most of these new maps in Team Deathmatch are actually quite large. And if you're playing with the default player count, which I believe is 12 versus 12, so it's 24 players, that's probably how it is on consoles, but or if you're just playing like a default server, even on PC, I think that'd be a little bit too empty. I think these maps are more designed for 32 players or even 48 players or even 64 players. I remember a lot of the vanilla maps when a lot of the PC servers would run 64 players on them. They were just too small and there was just too many people in too small of an area, where I feel like this map, and actually a lot of the other, most of the other, or if not all of the other maps that came out in this expansion pack, support easily 48 players. And you could probably fit 64 players on here as well without getting it too dense. And I think part of that is because of the sheer size of this map. This map is really big in Team Deathmatch. There's a lot of area to cover, but it's not very open at the same time. It's a very dense map, so there's lots of close quarters and medium range engagements because it's an urban area. And this is exactly what I like. This is like one of the most ideal type of setups that I would imagine for Team Deathmatch. Is a high player count, a large map, but it's dense map. You know, something like Caspian Border where it's really open. There's lots of long lines of sight, lots of snipers and things like that. That's not necessarily how I would enjoy. I like more of the mid and close range combat. And when it's large enough like this, it feels like you're exploring, you know, different areas, and there's a lot of different places that you can battle. Whereas if it's a super small map, then it just all the battles kind of take place at the same spot, and you also run into things like choke points, where if you walk around the corner you get killed, and if they walk around the corner they get killed, and you just have like 10 people on either side of a hallway camping. And that's something that I've noticed with things like Grand Bazaar or Scene Crossing. Some of those maps like that for Team Deathmatch, they're just not designed very well. They're either not big enough, there's not enough flanking routes, there's not enough area to battle in, or the player counts are too high. But I feel like these new maps for Team Deathmatch in the Aftermath expansion, at least on PC, are absolutely amazing, just as they are in every other game mode. But in Team Deathmatch, they're just really awesome to play on. I don't know how it is on the consoles though. Like I said, the lower player count might be kind of frustrating, as these maps would kind of feel a little bit empty. Now, I was using a couple different weapons in this video, in this gameplay. I'm still trying to test out which assault rifle is my preferred one after the most recent patch. It seems like the three that I'm sticking to are the AK-47, the AUG, and probably the SCAR. I was also using the G3A3, which is... I don't know if they've patched it in the... I don't think they did patch it in the most recent update, but it does feel like they've done something to it since the last time I've used it, although I haven't really used it in quite a while, so I could be wrong there. Now, the one thing that does need work on this map is the spawn points. It seems like there's some very strong static spawn points. What I mean by that is that even if you're kind of spawn trapping the team and you have them set at one spawn point, and as long as you don't enter that area where they're spawning at and you just keep shooting them. Right, here's a perfect example. They just keep spawning at the other end of this hallway. Now, I can flank around a couple different routes to access this point, but they just keep spawning there. And unless we push all the way in there to take over that spawn point, I don't think the spawns change, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, the other half of the map isn't even being used, so I would prefer that the spawns kind of flip a little bit once you get them pushed back this far. So yeah, the spawn points need a little bit of work. That's something that, you know, most maps always... You can always find something to complain about. And, you know, spawn points are never really perfect, but at least on this map it does seem to need a little bit more work. So recently, actually in the last couple hours, I finally finished the single player campaign for Far Cry 3, which I've been playing that game for quite a while. It seems like it's almost been, what, like 2 weeks since I started playing. And it took me a while to beat the single player. I did most of the side quests. I, you know, basically explored the entire... or both islands. I liberated all the different pirate-controlled areas. I did basically all the side quests that were available, although I didn't do 100% completion, because you can always go find all of the trophy items, the relics, and I didn't find all of them. I found about 50 out of 120. So I didn't do everything in the game. I don't really want to do everything in the game. It seems kind of tedious. But man, I gotta say, that game is absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not gonna give any spoilers away, but I will say there's a couple different options as far as how the game ends. I'm not gonna get into details when I say that, but it's nice to have a game that actually has changeable endings, or it's not necessarily incredibly customizable endings like something you'd see in like Mass Effect or Fallout or Skyrim or something like that, where it's completely different for everybody. But there was a little bit of difference. And overall, man, that is one of the best games I've played in a long time, and it's between that and Borderlands 2 for me for the game of the year. I mean, they're two completely different categories. So if I had to choose, I'd easily say that Borderlands 2 is the best multiplayer game. I guess it's more of a co-op game, but regardless. And then that Far Cry 3 is the best single-player game. So if you guys are looking for something to pick up, and you guys haven't picked up Far Cry 3 already, and you guys should definitely pick that up. I don't really know about the multiplayer, if that's something that you're interested in. I haven't played it enough to really fully grasp it. I did play it for a couple hours, and I've played some of the custom maps, which are actually really cool. There's a full custom map editor. It's very similar to the CryEngine map editor, which I've used quite extensively in school projects, but just an amazing, amazing game. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. One of the best games I've played in a long time, so definitely pick it up. Recently, there's been a little bit of talk about Battlefield 4. This year's almost over, and that means that we're getting closer and closer to the release of Battlefield 4. And there's going to be a beta for those who got Medal of Honor Warfighter in the summer sometime. And EA and DICE have come out and talked about how they don't want to turn this into a Call of Duty system where they release a new Battlefield every year. Now, it's a little bit different because if you think about Call of Duty, there's actually two different types of Call of Duty. You've got the Treyarch Call of Duty that are right now doing the Black Ops series, and then you've got Infinity Ward that are doing Modern Warfare. Now, the games are very, very similar. There's some significant differences, but overall, it's a very similar game. So from a player's point of view, you know, Call of Duty comes out every year. But from the developer's point of view, there's a Treyarch every other year and an Infinity Ward Call of Duty every other year. And that's kind of how you have to look at it. But EA and DICE have said that they don't want to turn Battlefield into that. They want to have at least 2 years, more like 3 years, between each release of Battlefield, which I think is a good thing. I think that that gives them enough time to develop an actual good sequel to a good franchise. Now, you also have to think that they have Battlefield Bad Company, which is very similar to Battlefield, but it kind of has its own unique feel and flair to it. But I think the essential like multiplayer component is very similar. So I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to be doing Bad Company 3 after Battlefield 4. We don't really know about that yet. But they've also talked about how they want to do DLC. They want to do it in a similar way they did it with Battlefield 3. So they're going to do a release of Battlefield 4, and then after that they're going to do a whole year's worth, at least, maybe even more, of DLC for Battlefield 4. Now, they'll probably do the premium thing that they had for Battlefield 3. So you have to buy Battlefield 4 Premium, and you'll get all the DLC. And that'll, you know, go for a year or so. But I'm just kind of interested in what you guys think about this. I personally would prefer a Battlefield game every 3 or 4 years. And if they wanted to, then maybe do a Battlefield Bad Company game here and there in between those. But honestly, I want DICE, who I think is one of the best developers in the gaming industry, to work on other titles. Things like Mirror's Edge, which they have recently kind of hinted at that they're working on Mirror's Edge 2. Or maybe creating a completely new series that uses the Frostbite game engine, that maybe is a shooter, and maybe it's not, but has some type of new mechanics. Because that's the thing that I don't like about Call of Duty, is that even if they change a lot of the setting, they give you brand new guns, they give you brand new maps, they give you everything else, the mechanics and the gameplay, which are the most important part of any game, is the same, and they don't change it because that's what you know, separates Call of Duty from the rest of the shooters, is that it has the Call of Duty gameplay. Now, that's something that obviously a lot of people have tried to copy, but you know, with Battlefield, I want them to, instead of just making a sequel every year or even every 2 years, I want them to make a big jump like they did from Battlefield 2 to Battlefield 3, because the games are very different. Now you also have to, you know, keep in mind that they went to Battlefield Bad Company as well, and those are kind of iterated on top of each other. But I just don't want a Battlefield 5 in another year or so. And hopefully you guys don't want one either. I think most people are kind of on the same level that I am. And I think that's something that DICE and EA note and that they're going to respect, because they don't want to, you know, get the bad rep of something like Call of Duty, where even their fan base hates them for no apparent reason. Well, I mean, there's reasons, but anyway, that's all I want to talk about for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Feel free to give me a like or a favorite, and let me know in the comments down below what you thought, and I'll see you guys next video. Thanks for watching.